Akatsu Riko is a typical delinquent who always goes to school late, doesn't listen to the teacher, and skips many classes. This is why Uyama wanted to stay away from her, but unfortunately she uses his room as her hangout place. Turns out, they coincidentally saw each other in front of his house, so she barged in. After learning that he lives alone, she comes to his home to hang out every day after school. Uyama is scared of her as she orders him to buy things in his own apartment. She wants to practice some wrestling moves, but Uyama tells her that it's getting late and she should return to her home. Instead of listening to him, she grabs him and says that she will stop when he gives up. Uyama is terrified and gives up immediately. She doesn't stop, but Uyama doesn't hate being chalked by her thighs either. Uyama is worried that a delinquent who likes Akatsu might learn that she spends time at his house. He gets scared that he might offend people and wishes that it was a normal girl in his room. He tries to wake her up, but she says that she is too sleepy and wants to stay the night. His lewd mind surpasses his fears and he lets her stay. The next day, Uyama wonders how he must get a hold of Akatsu's weakness so he can make her leave. Just then Akatsu gets a hold of his weakness instead and finds his hidden stash of dirty movies. He begs her not to tell anyone at school, and she teases him about his taste in women. Uyama imagines what would happen if the girls in school learned about it and how it will be the end of his school life. Akatsu threatens him with a smiling face and tells him to do what he normally does while watching these movies, otherwise she will tell everyone in school. She plays the movie and forces him to watch his despite his resistance. However, the movie was even dirtier than she could have ever imagined. She gets flustered and the whole atmosphere gets awkward. Due to the embarrassment, he decides that he won't let her enter tomorrow and will tell her to stay away right now. Just as he is about to do it, she starts teasing him about his preferences. This causes his lewd thoughts to take over again and he decides to let her stay for a little longer. Unexpectedly, she does not tell anyone about this incident and Uyama's social life continues like normal. She continues to hang out in his room, and one day as she is just lying down on his bed, she complains that she is bored. Uyama suggests that she should go home if she has nothing to do, but she refuses. He can't do anything because he is scared of her, but she tells him that she will leave if he can force her off of his bed. Uyama thinks about it and realizes that he must touch her to force her off. He gets furious that she said it because she knows that he doesn't have the guts to do it. He tells her that it's unfair and she starts teasing him. She mocks him by saying that he is too embarrassed to touch a girl. She says that no matter how big of a loser he is, he must have had some experience with girls. This angers him and he decides that it's alright if he's only touching her wrist. He grabs her wrist and starts pulling her, but she doesn't budge. She pulls him and drops him on the bed. She teases him for being weaker than a girl. She tells him that he will have to try harder tomorrow if he wants her to leave. However, he is frozen in fear after thinking about being on the same bed as a girl and that this will happen tomorrow too. His lewd thoughts take over again as he doesn't mind losing to her. One day, Akatsu decides to sleep at his house. Uyama wants to sleep too and needs to wake her up so he can sleep. He tries to wake her up but stops. He gets scared after recalling how she reacted when a teacher woke her up during class. He wonders what he should do to wake her up and loses his mind after remembering that this is his own house. He turns around in anger and calls her name but gets scared after seeing her sleeping face. He hesitates to wake her up and assumes that she might misunderstand if he touches her. She grabs his hand out of nowhere and Uyama is scared for his life. It turns out she was just sleeping and soon she starts to cuddle his hand. He finds her cute and doesn't move his hand. He uses the excuse that she might get angry. Meanwhile, she continues to enjoy her face rubbing against his hand. In the end, he doesn't remove his arm for a long time and it goes numb. The next day, Akatsu arrives at his room like usual and soon she gets a call from her friend. Uyama hears Akatsu inviting the other person to come to her. He assumes that she is inviting her friends to come to his room. He imagines what would happen if more delinquents like Akatsu came over and his brain can't handle the shock. Akatsu is about to tell her friend where she is at right now and Uyama tries to stop her. She uses her foot to push his face away. She starts teasing him by telling her friend that a guy is trying to kiss her. Eventually, she hangs up the phone without revealing anything about Uyama's room. He tries to scold Akatsu, but she teases him by questioning if he really wants to kiss her. He gets flustered and gives up. She consoles him by saying that she won't tell anyone about Uyama's room and that it is her personal hangout place. She goes to sleep after saying this and Uyama sighs a breath of relief that no one else will come to his room. At the school, Akatsu is sitting with her leg up on the chair. One of her friends tells her that her plot is visible. Akatsu brags that it is not a big deal and that she gets money because of it. She takes money from the people who look at her plot. Uyama listens from the side and thinks that Akatsu is very dangerous. Later, in his room, Akatsu sits on the bed with her plot visible again and Uyama faces away from her. He gets scared that she is doing it intentionally to extort money from him. He controls himself out of fear and doesn't peek at her plot. She realizes that he is acting strange and asks him about it. He tries to act normal but fails to fool her. She understands why he is being like that after seeing his flustered face. Uyama gets scared and bows down to apologize. He offers her money and begs her not to tell anyone. She tells him that it is fine and that she will let him see her plot for free in return for lending her manga and games. She orders him not to tell anyone about this. He gets shy and turns around while thinking that how it was so amazing. The next day, Akatsu arrives at Uyama's room like usual but weirdly leaves quite early. She leaves in a bad mood and is also injured. Uyama imagines that she must have fought with someone. After she leaves, he notices that she has left her phone on the bed. He gets curious about what is inside her phone. He lets curiosity take over and picks her phone up. He opens the phone and finds a video of a cat on it. He plays it and sees that Akatsu was trying to play with a cat, but instead the cat started hitting her. He realizes that Akatsu was in a bad mood because she failed to play with a cat and because a cat beat her up. Uyama is surprised that Akatsu has some good traits, but just then a hand creeps up on his shoulder. Akatsu's embarrassed face pops up and she requests him to turn off the video. In the end, she lashes out on him, but he is happy to see her cute side. A few days later, she injures her hands again while trying to pet a cat. Uyama asks her what happened and she tries to hide it. He tries to take her to the hospital, but she refuses very harshly. She scolds him and forgets that her hands are injured. She grabs him by the collar out of anger and says that she won't go to the hospital no matter what. She starts tearing up after using her injured hands. Uyama gets worried about her and tries to console her by getting her ice cream. She gets even more pissed at him because he got her ice cream while knowing that she can't use her hands. She threatens to send him to the hospital after her hands heal in return for mocking her. With no other option left, she opens her mouth wide, but Uyama is confused at her actions. He stares at her in shock and she gets angry. She shouts at him to feed her, and Uyama wishes that her hands get injured tomorrow as well. A few days go by and Akatsu complains about her feet hurting because she ran so much. Uyama questions if she has been exercising today, but she explains that she was running from the student counselor the whole day. She orders him to give her a massage. He starts getting lewd thoughts again and fools himself into believing that he is only doing it so she leaves earlier. He tries not to overthink and focuses on the massage. Akatsu distracts him by making weird noises and he gets annoyed. He stops the massage, but she tells him that she was just joking and won't do it again. Uyama decides to take his revenge by giving her a very strong massage that will hurt her. She continues to make the same noises again, but not intentionally this time. However, Uyama fails to realize this and starts going even harder at it. She tells him to stop, but he continues to do it. He finally notices that she is shaking and blushing a lot. She tells him to get off and Uyama realizes that he was touching her in the wrong places. Akatsu stays quiet for a while after the incident, and there remains a strange atmosphere between them afterward. A few days go by and things return to normal between them. Akatsu sees Uyama sleeping on the bed and tries to wake him up so she can sit there. She gets suspicious that he is only pretending, and he decides that he won't get up no matter what. She tells him to get up because she wants to play games, but he doesn't budge and continues to pretend that he is asleep. He gets nervous after hearing a camera shutter sound. Meanwhile, Akatsu takes pictures of him so she can threaten him one day. She continues to test him and decides to go to the extreme. She talks aloud so he can hear everything and says that she will take a picture of her chest. He loses his mind while thinking about what is happening. She even takes a picture of his face, but he doesn't open his eyes. She gives up and thinks that he might really be sleeping. She pokes his head and he starts blushing because of it. In the end, she doesn't leave early and he has to keep pretending to be asleep for a long time. Like every other day, Akatsu comes by to hang out in Uyama's room. He gets embarrassed after seeing her being so defenseless. He wishes for her to leave soon and she notices him staring at her. She threatens him and asks if he wants to fight. Uyama explains that he doesn't want to fight, so she questions why he was looking at her. He refuses to admit that he was peeking at her, so she starts choking him. He gets embarrassed by being so close to her. His thoughts start to take over him as he loses control. She lets him go and turns him around but sees something poking out of his pants. She starts teasing him and asks him about it, but he continues to apologize without saying anything else. She chokes him again but does it gently this time while teasing him. Akatsu makes a request to Uyama that she wants to eat dessert and that he should go and buy something sweet and salty for her. He goes to fulfill her request while complaining all the time that all he does is bring her things. When he returns, he hears Akatsu screaming from inside his room. He peeks inside the door and sees Akatsu screaming at a cockroach crawling on his bed. He realizes that although Akatsu is usually very scary, she is very afraid of cockroaches. Akatsu fails to notice Uyama creeping at the door looking at her. Uyama decides that he won't come in and will let the cockroach crawl in his room so that Akatsu gets scared and never comes back to his room. 5 minutes pass and Akatsu still doesn't move from her position. He likes seeing her in fear but decides in the end that he should save her. Just as Uyama is about to go in, he hears Akatsu silently say his name. He stops in his track and focuses. Akatsu calls out his name in tears and says she is scared and wants Uyama to come back early. Uyama turns away from the door in embarrassment and thinks that he should probably return after a while. He leaves the room. Later, when Akatsu finds out about him hiding, she hits him. Another time, Akatsu asks Uyama a favor and he refuses before she can say anything. She shouts at him to listen to her and says she wants to do it with him. She goes on to explain that she got a penalty for violating school rules due to being late or absent from class, and as a result she has to do some handouts for supplementary lessons. She tells Uyama that if she does not do it, she may get expelled from school. She asks Uyama to do the handouts together and he instantly refuses. She comments that he looked excited before she explained her request. She again begs him to do the handouts together and he still does not agree. She whines that if she gets expelled from the school then her parents will kick her out of the house too. She becomes angry and throws the handouts on the ground. Uyama thinks that if she didn't always do bad things then he would have helped her out. She calmly sits on his bed and comments that even if she did end up getting kicked out of her house, it won't be a problem for her since she can live with Uyama that way. Uyama becomes alert. He instantly picks her up handouts and starts doing them. Late in the evening, Uyama strolls back to his house from the school and thinks to himself that his teacher entrusted him to do some tasks at the school due to which he got late. He realizes that at least this way Akatsu would have left already after not finding him home. He plans mentally that he will relax and read manga after working the whole day. As he turns the corner towards his house, he comes across Akatsu loudly banging his door, calling him bastard and yelling to open the door. He tells her to stop bothering the neighbors and quieten down. She demands to know where he was and he explains how he was held back in the school. He asks her why she is so angry and she says in a sulking mood that she thought Uyama was ignoring her. He laughs slightly at her childishness and Akatsu gets angry. She pulls out her phone and asks him to exchange their contact information so they can contact each other anytime. Uyama gives her his contact information with a pounding heart since it was his first time sharing such information with a girl. In school, Uyama's friend asks him if he lives by himself and whether he can visit his house later that day. Before Uyama can answer, Akatsu starts coughing across the classroom. Akatsu tells his friend it's impossible, and his friend asks him whether he has a girlfriend, due to which he is not letting him visit his house. In an attempt to look cool, Uyama tells his friend that he has a girlfriend. Later in Uyama's bedroom, Akatsu teases Uyama and tells him to call her Riko-chan since she is his girlfriend now. She teasingly asks him when did she become his girlfriend, and he tells her that he was just being pretentious in front of his friend. She reminds him that he also told his friend that Uyama did it with his girlfriend, and Uyama apologizes to her for his statements. She teases him that a guy like him shall be exposed soon, and he agrees. She lies on the bed provocatively and teases him that he can make his statement a reality, but then she bursts out laughing when she sees his deadpan face. Uyama thinks to himself that he made a mistake by saying anything to his friend. One evening, it starts to rain heavily and Uyama rejoices since Akatsu cannot come to his house due to the heavy rain. Just then, Akatsu barges inside his house completely drenched in rainwater. Her clothes stick to her and she tells to Uyama to look since they are see-through. Suddenly, she takes off her shirt and demands Uyama to lend her his shower so that she can take a bath. When Uyama starts to complain, she explains that getting drenched was making her feel gross and sticky and her clothes were see-through anyway, due to which she took off her shirt. Uyama hands over a towel to her and tells her it is brand new so she can use it. She starts to tease him that he must be planning to use the towel himself after she had used it. She continues to tease him and Uyama tells her to hurry up or else she will catch a cold. She sneezes suddenly and instantly gets embarrassed, commenting how weird her sneeze was. Uyama finds her sneeze very girlish compared to his own sneeze and Akatsu tells him not to look at her. She continues to sneeze and Uyama finds her sneezing really cute. Later he gets hit due to continuous looking. Akatsu, after getting drenched from the rain, changes into her exercise wear clothes. She starts to complain that her clothes stink of sweat and Uyama replies that since they are her exercise clothes they are bound to stick. Akatsu replies that the clothes always stay in her bag, making Uyama question whether the clothes have ever been washed even. She demands Uyama to hand over his own clothes to her so that she can change. When he does not agree, she jumps on his bed and threatens that she will start to exercise on his bed and make it all sweaty. Finally, Uyama relents and gives her his own clothes. After changing into his clothes, Akatsu teases him by asking whether he wears the given clothes often. She sniffs the given shirt and Uyama defends himself by saying that he has washed it properly. She continues to sniff it and soon turns red, commenting how his shirt smells good. She rolls over on his bed and keeps smelling the shirt, making Uyama feel embarrassed. Later, even when the rain stops, she does not return to her home. At school, during lunchtime, Akatsu's friends ask Uyama to buy them lunch and bread. He decides he is not going to be pushed around in school just like he gets pushed around in his house and will refuse to bring them lunch. Just then, he sees Akatsu glaring at him behind her friends and he gives up. He brings them lunch like they asked him to. Later at his house, he senses that Akatsu is in a bad mood and he thinks she is mad at him for hesitating to being her friend's lunch. He thinks he should apologize to her for what happened. Akatsu then asks him angrily that why he didn't reject her friends. She exclaims that she even gave him a signal that he should reject them, but still he went ahead to bring them lunch and was being all cozy with them. Uyama defends himself that he thought she was threatening him rather than giving him a signal. He explains that he is always bringing things for her on her demand, so naturally he thought she would want the same for her friends. Akatsu gets embarrassed and sulkily tells him that it bothers her if Uyama brings anybody other than her things, and she cannot really explain why. She tells him that next time he should reject them, and he agrees. His heart also starts pounding at her explanation. Akatsu catches a cold and takes a leave from school. He thinks to himself that being alone and sick is painful, but at least it is better than Akatsu visiting him daily. He then thinks that Akatsu would have noticed in school that he was absent and would decide not to visit him. 10 minutes later, Akatsu barges in his room and tells her she slept in the nurse's room all day and did not know Uyama was absent. Uyama warns her that she should go back to her house so that she doesn't catch a cold from him, but she argues that she will stay with him. He gets excited thinking that Akatsu will take care of him while he is sick, but Akatsu blows his bubble by saying that by staying with him she will catch his cold, and as a result she will be able to miss school. She searches her on phone methods to catch someone else's cold and tells Uyama that kissing someone is the most effective method. She tells him that she wants to miss school just like him and leans in to kiss him. Uyama thinks that Akatsu is teasing him like always to see his reactions, so he calms himself. Akatsu suddenly stops and says that maybe they should not kiss after all. She then adds that being near Uyama should be enough to catch his cold. Uyama thinks that he won't get better as long as Akatsu is in his room. He is about to ask her to leave when she suddenly orders him to take off his clothes. He takes off his shirt and she wipes the sweat off of his back with a cloth piece. She comments that he is drenched in sweat and continues to wipe his back. Uyama thinks what the catch is since Akatsu is actually nursing him and that maybe she will try to blackmail him using this incident. She strokes his arm and remarks that his skin is white like a woman's skin. He gets flustered and knows that if he asks why she is behaving like this, she will just say that she is doing it to catch his cold. She tells him that if she gets sick, Uyama will have to nurse her too. Uyama imagines her sick in the same condition and starts to cough. She teases him that he was probably thinking something lewd. She does not leave till later and continues to remain energetic. Back in Uyama's room, Akatsu asks him why he is always speaking formally. When he doesn't answer properly, she comments that maybe he thinks talking any other way is bad and that maybe he sees Akatsu as a delinquent. She then declares that whenever Uyama will speak to her formally, he will owe her 100 yens. Uyama thinks that all his life savings would go to her if that happens. He tells her that he cannot do it and she charges him 100 yens for his formality. He tries to speak like her and not be formal, but decides it's too embarrassing and scary. He tells her that he only talks formally to her and he talks like a delinquent to all other girls. For a second he thinks that Akatsu will see through his lie, but she becomes silent. She stops teasing him and starts to sulk. She doesn't go back to her home and remains sulking the entire time. Akatsu and Uyama arm wrestle and Uyama struggles to win. Akatsu tells him that it is going to her second win and as a reward she will get 2 ice creams. Uyama thinks that holding her hand is too embarrassing for him and he cannot muster any strength because of it. She wins and tells him that they should muscle train. He turns around and tells her that he is good enough and is not too much bothered by it. She starts throwing taunts at him to make him angry. She tells him that he is too weak and watching him squirm makes her angry. She pushes him down and grabbing his feet she tells him to give her sit-ups. He first gets embarrassed at his position but then starts to think that if he gets muscular, he will ask Akatsu to go back home and then she won't have any choice but to listen to him. He also imagines that if he gets muscular he can take revenge on her and make her apologize. Finding new motivation, he tries to do one sit-up and barely manages to sit when he sees Akatsu's face from close. She makes a comment that he can do it if he tries and he falls back on the floor in embarrassment of being too close to her face. He declares that he cannot do it anymore and the training ends before even 5 minutes. One day, Akatsu brings over a DVD and tells Uyama that they are going to watch a movie together. Uyama realizes it is a horror movie and comments that he is not very good with such kind of movies. She steps back and Uyama thinks she is going to be nice and take the movie back, but then she turns the lights off and tells him she is really going to enjoy watching this movie. They turn the lights back on and sit down to watch the movie. He realizes that he is more scared of what Akatsu might do to him compared to the scary movie itself. A scary scene comes on the screen and Akatsu suddenly jerks his sleeve. She asks him whether the scene surprised him and lays down her head on his back to listen to his heartbeat. He gets frustrated and thinks that she just wants to have fun with his reactions. Suddenly he notices that she is slightly trembling. He gets surprised and asks her whether such movies scare her. She starts to defend herself that of course such movies don't scare her when suddenly a scary scene comes on the screen. She screams and jumps in his arms. Noticing his reactions, she goes back to normal and starts making fun of him. He thinks to himself that he wanted to protect her. During a holiday, Akatsu arrives on Uyama's doorstep and bangs on the door. Uyama wonders that he does not want his holiday to get disturbed and wants to rest instead. He thinks that maybe he should pretend to be out, but then realizes that maybe Akatsu has come in her casual clothes. He lets her in. She remarks that she had plans to go to karaoke, but they were suddenly cancelled, so she came to Uyama's. Seeing her in jumper and hoodie, Uyama thinks that she has a bad taste in clothes compared to what he imagined she would be wearing. She sees her bland attitude and teases him that she especially came to his place to meet him on a day off. He replies that it was her first time seeing her in casual clothes. She becomes silent and expectantly looks at him as if she wants him to say something more. He thinks that maybe she wants him to say something more, so he comments that the casual clothes look good on her and suit her. She instantly becomes happy and comments that he says such nice things. She then starts telling him about her clothes, and he thinks that Akatsu looks good when she is happy and that he is looking forward to the next day off. When Akatsu gets tired from playing games, she throws the game away and declares that she is hungry. Uyama suggests that he has instant noodles, and she asks whether she should make some food. She goes to the kitchen to make food, and he starts to wonder whether she is playing a prank. She announces she is done and brings out a plate of fried rice. Uyama sees a burning plate of what look like steaming coal and realizes he may get hospitalized soon. She puts down the food in front of him and comments that she often makes it for herself and that it is the first time she is making it for someone else. He fears to eat it, but for Akatsu's sake he takes a bite. Surprisingly, he finds it delicious. He eats it fast and tells Akatsu that it is very good and he loves to eat it. She gets embarrassed by all the compliments and mutters that since it's good, she can make it again the next time it's a day off. He starts to look forward to the next day off. Akatsu tries many wrestling techniques on Uyama and goes to sleep when she becomes tired. He wonders when she will wake up. Suddenly, Uyama's classmates from school barge in his house. They tell him that Uyama never lets them come to his house, due to which they appeared suddenly. They ask him to show them his room. He throws a blanket over sleeping Akatsu to hide her and thinks that if they spot Akatsu in his room, the rumors about them will spread everywhere in school. One of his classmates asks him whether it is a body pillow he is hiding under the blanket, so he jumps on the blanket to defend it and warns them not to touch it. A muffling sound comes from under the blanket, and his classmate makes a joke whether he is hiding a talking body pillow. Suddenly, Akatsu creeps out from under the blanket. She lays a hand on his shoulder and tells him he has a nerve if he is attacking her while she is sleeping. He tries to cover the situation and jumps on Akatsu with the blanket to hide her. The classmates see them struggling in an intimate position and assume they are doing something, so they excuse themselves to Uyama and rush out. They tell him before leaving that he should tell them if he has his girlfriend over. Akatsu asks Uyama in embarrassment to release her, and he immediately jumps back. He comments that she must feel disgusted being hugged by him like that. She blushes deeply and says that it's okay since she understood the situation. She then asks him threateningly whether his friends were from their class and whether their memories should be erased. Another evening, Uyama talks to his parents on the phone about returning home during the weekend. He now leaves the door unlocked since Akatsu gets angry if the door is locked. Just then, Akatsu walks in and hears him talking on the phone. She assumes the wrong thing and asks Uyama whether he will now stop living alone and will move back with his parents. She starts to look gloomy and tells Uyama not to go home. She then tells him that she will lose her hangout location if he moves back. This makes Uyama angry, and he comments that she has other spots she can hang out. She goes to explain that there is no other place for her where new manga comes on the release day and snacks and juice are brought in every 5 minutes. He argues that she only hangs out in his room to use him. She replies that he is wrong and that she likes to poke and tease him. She gets embarrassed and further explains that she likes being in Uyama's room and that for her there are not many places like his room. Uyama thinks that she is teasing him or playing a game, but when he sees her expression he realizes that she is serious. He gets embarrassed thinking that maybe Akatsu likes her. She turns around and says that since he has decided to go home she will take her leave too. He stops her and explains that he was only going to his home for the weekend. He then confesses that he likes being with Akatsu too. She turns cold suddenly and tells him that he is confusing something. She tells him she was only worried that her hangout would be gone and that his statement was disgusting. She calls him delusional and walks into the toilet. Once inside, she gets flustered immediately as she cannot believe that Uyama would say something like that to her. Her heart starts beating wildly and she cannot believe she is getting so excited about it. She bangs her head against the toilet door, and outside Uyama thinks that he will soon be killed due to his mistake. Another evening, Akatsu lays in Uyama's bed reading a manga. Uyama thinks that he has been very conscious of her since the whole incident, but she has been acting normally. She asks him to give her the next manga volume, and he thinks that if he acts cold towards her, maybe then she will leave. He tells her to get the manga herself, and she tells him to drop the attitude. She keeps poking him, and he thinks that he wants to make her leave, but her cuteness keeps making her win. He then wonders whether she is also conscious of him because of the previous incident between them. He turns around and sees her from close. She coldly comments that he has been acting disgusting for a while and he should just go and fetch the manga for her. He gets scared and rushes off to pick up the manga, leaving an embarrassed Akatsu behind. She thinks that seeing him close reminds her of the incident that happened between them. Uyama wakes up in the middle of the night and sees Akatsu sleeping beside him. He realizes that Akatsu was reading a manga when he had fallen asleep first. He makes a plan to extract himself from the awkward situation before she wakes up and accuses him of anything weird. He attempts to get out of the bed but realizes he is stuck as Akatsu is holding his hand tightly while sleeping. He wonders whether it's a habit of hers to fall asleep while holding hands. Just then, she takes his fingers in her mouth and starts to suck them. He complains, but she doesn't wake up and continues to hold his fingers. In the morning, Akatsu wakes up and finds Uyama sulking in the corner holding his swollen fingers. She teases him and comments that he probably did not sleep the whole night because of nervousness. Akatsu sees Uyama clean his ears and comments that he was doing it the day before too. He replies that his ears have been bothering him. She teases him that she has a torchlight so she can look inside his ears too. She then suggests that he should lie down on her lap and that she will help him out. He lays his head on her lap and asks whether she doesn't mind cleaning somebody's ear. She replies that she does not mind and inserts the Q-tip in his ear. She comments that his ear shape is funny and then starts to dig inside his ear. She teases him that is he even a guy if he is shaking and is so tense. He tells her he is scared and tells her to be gentle with him. She gets embarrassed at his request and in her embarrassment digs deep in his ear. One day, Akatsu comes into Uyama's house with her bag and announces she had a fight with her parents, so she has run away and shall now stay at his house. He tells her to go to a friend's house instead and she replies that her friends have boyfriends so it will be weird to stay with them. She starts to change her clothes suddenly and he abruptly turns away. He reluctantly relents that she can only stay for one day and she comments that she has come to stay for a month. She then shows him her clothes she bought with her for her stay, and when he sees a skimpy shirt, he thinks he wants to see her wearing that. She tells him she will go to school from Akatsu's house. He wonders what kind of environment Akatsu faces at her own home since she always complains about being lonely at home. He imagines that if he does not let her stay, some delinquents may end up capturing her while she is wandering the streets at night and may get rough with her. He tells her that she can stay over and she teases him that he must be thinking some erotic things since he is agreeing. He tells her that he is only allowing her to stay because he is worried for her, and this makes Akatsu blush. She is about to thank Uyama but her phone starts to ring suddenly. She picks it up and starts yelling that she is not coming back home. Akatsu becomes concerned that the situation with her family must be really bad. She addresses her mom and shouts that she shouldn't have eaten her ice cream even though she bought it with her own money. Uyama gets shocked since he thought her fight with her parents was serious. Later, Akatsu makes up with her parents and returns home. When Akatsu comes to his house later, he tells her to take all her stuff back which she had brought with her when she had come to stay over. She asks him whether she should take her plot back too, and this frustrates him. He starts to defend himself that he had forgotten about them. She doesn't believe him. She instead teases him that he must have used the plot for some other purpose when he was alone, and he denies all the accusation. She tells him to keep all her stuff since dragging the stuff back will be a pain for her. She comments that this way she can use her stuff whenever she will stay over. She also tells him that she doesn't mind if he uses her stuff as long as he washes them properly. She then teases him that if he uses her stuff she will charge him 500 yen fee other than the first time, which will be free. He tells her he has to store his own things too, so she should take her stuff with her, and she replies that if Uyama can hand over her plot to her she will agree and take all the stuff back. He thinks that she is asking for the impossible. He folds her plot inside her clothes and brings the clothes to her. She starts making fun of him and calls him a loser. She then asks him what else is in the drawer, and as he takes out a skimpy underwear of hers, she immediately snatches it away from his hand and gets embarrassed. She defends herself that she only put it in his drawer to tease him and that she never wears such stuff herself. In the end, she doesn't take her stuff back. During his day off, Uyama requests Akatsu to get off his bed so that he can air out the bed sheets, but she refuses. He asks her again and she complains that he is such a shut-in. She asks why he cannot dry the bedsheets when she is not in his room, and he thinks it's not possible since Akatsu is always in his room. She then taunts him that he can try and move her out of the way himself. She proceeds to tease him that he is such a virgin that he would never touch a girl. He comments that he uses the bedsheets, so she must find the used bedsheets disgusting. Akatsu replies that she does not care even if the bedsheets smell as long as she can roll freely on them. She starts to tease him again that she doesn't mind the bedsheets despite knowing what naughty stuff he does on them, and he stops her from saying anything more. Giving up, he tells Akatsu that if she does not mind the dirty bedsheets that it's fine with him as well. Akatsu replies that she does mind the dirty sheets, but she is only saying she doesn't care since the bed sheets are Uyama's. She gets embarrassed saying this and throws the bedsheet on his face. Another day, Akatsu complains to Uyama that her parents hit her and her head hurts. He gets worried and asks if she is okay. He also wonders whether Akatsu even gets along with her parents or not. She asks him whether her head has a bump and he replies that he cannot tell by just looking. She makes a suggestion that he should touch her head. She then thinks to herself that a guy like Uyama would never touch her head, but just then Uyama extends his hand and lays it on her head, surprising her. He comments that her head seems a bit swollen. She stays silent in shock and wonders that since when Uyama became so bold that he could touch her head without any hesitation. He tells her he is going out to buy some ice, and she interrupts him by asking whether her head really has a bump. She asks him to touch her head again. He lays his hand on her head again and remarks that her head definitely has a bump on it, meanwhile not noticing that Akatsu is getting really excited from his touch. He comments that her head is getting hotter and hotter, and she thinks to herself that it feels really good when Uyama touches her head. In the end, her pain becomes worse. Akatsu comes to Uyama's house one day when he is playing games. She lays on his bed and drapes his legs over his shoulders while he plays his games. She comments that if she wins he will have to buy her ice cream, and he thinks that he cannot concentrate with Akatsu's legs around his head. She becomes serious suddenly and tells him not to move since her legs have fallen asleep. He asks if she is okay and she yells at him not to move. She puts her arms over his head and complains that the numbing is getting worse and he shouldn't move still. He tells her that his position is not too comfortable and he has to move slightly. She whines that things will get bad if he moves and that he should in the same position just for a while longer. His soft and needy voice frustrates Uyama, and he realizes he wants to take revenge on her for all her teasing. He touches her feet and asks whether her legs are actually numb. Her legs start shaking at the touch, and she warns him that she may die if he touches her again. He touches the leg again to tease her. Later, when Akatsu recovers, she hits him. The next day, she tells him that she will be staying over tonight. He tries to explain that it's hard for him when she stays over. He bursts out and tells her to stop flapping her skirt around. She starts teasing him instead and says that it's hot. He turns away and understands that it's the same pattern of her teasing him again. He thinks to himself that she will use that as an excuse to stay over because he looked at her plot. He decides he is sure about making her leave today, but she comes up to him and says that she will do anything he asks in return. He starts to rethink his decision even though he knows that it's a trap. Akatsu says that she will just stay at someone else's house if Uyama doesn't let her stay. This shocks Uyama as his thoughts run wild. He tells her that she can stay over and crawls towards her while asking if she will do anything. She gets scared after seeing him lose control and he gets on top of her. He screams at the top of his lungs that he wants her to only come to his house and to not visit any other guy. She explains that she isn't close with guys and was going to stay at a female friend's house. They both get embarrassed after this, and Akatsu tries to tease him while blushing. Uyama wishes that he could leave this place. Later, Akatsu drops a lighter from her pocket while leaving for the bathroom. Uyama gets nervous after imagining that she might be smoking. He gets scared that the landlord might learn of this and report them to the school. He overthinks that both of them may get expelled from school because of this. She comes out of the bathroom and he blurts out that he wants to smell her body. She gets disgusted by this, so he explains what he meant. He asks her about the lighter and she explains that it's her mom's. She is confused why she has it and states that she does not smoke or anything. She teases him by saying that he can still smell her if he wants to. He continues to clear himself and says that he was just worried for her health. She gets shy and says that it wouldn't be such a big deal even if she smoked occasionally. He starts lecturing her without thinking about his words and tells her that it would affect her baby's health during pregnancy. She is speechless and gets very embarrassed. He tries to explain, but he messes up even more, so he runs away to the bathroom to escape the awkward situation. She continues to think about what he meant while blushing. The next day, Akatsu comes back to hang out. She is annoyed and explains that she got called out by the teacher for inappropriate appearance in school today. She adds that she will have to go to the teacher tomorrow to be inspected before she can take classes. Uyama assumes that she will fail the inspection again due to her clothes, blonde hair, and piercing. Meanwhile, Akatsu is confused about why she got called out and is completely unaware about her appearance. He tells her that everything about her appearance is wrong and she gets angry. He explains that blonde hair is not allowed unless they are natural. She complains that she will have to dye it black tomorrow and asks if guys like girls with black hair. He imagines how she will look with black hair. He tells her that he likes how she looks right now while acting shy. She gets flustered and says that she wasn't asking about herself. She calls him disgusting and turns her face away. However, she continues to blush and gets happy thinking about what he said. In the end, she does not dye her hair or change her appearance. When the teacher questions her, she replies that she did not want to change her looks. One day, Uyama accidentally drinks cola from Akatsu's can and starts blushing after thinking that it was an indirect kiss. Akatsu notices him blushing and realizes what is going through his head. She starts teasing him about it and he tries to make up for it by buying her a new one. She tells him that it doesn't matter as such kisses don't count. She starts teasing him again by playing around with the can and he can't bear it anymore. She tells him that she will stop now but does it again. He tries to take away the can and says that he will get her a new one. She doesn't want to give it back and tries to push him away. He gets on the bed while trying to take it but accidentally slips. He unintentionally kisses her cheeks and gets embarrassed. She tries to brush it off by teasing him and he runs away to get a nuken out of embarrassment. She starts blushing after he leaves and loses her mind because this was the first time a boy kissed her. Akatsu comes late at night one time and Uyama is surprised because he didn't expect her to come. She tells him that she was at the karaoke with her friends today and her throat is all dry because of screaming for so long. She tells him that on the way to his room, a pervert tried to grope her. Uyama gets shocked and asks her if she is okay. She tells him that it was not a big deal and she handled the situation very well. She brags about how she kicked the guy right on the balls when he tried to touch her. He is still worried about her and tells that she shouldn't come so late because it's unsafe at night. They get into an argument as Akatsu says that she can kick such people on the balls every time, but he tells that things could get worse next time. He gets furious and shouts that he can't let such a cute girl wander alone at night and that he will come pick her up if she ever wants to come late. He even offers to walk her back to her house at night and requests her to let him protect her. She gets embarrassed after hearing all this and agrees to call him next time while blushing. He reports the guy to the police while she thinks about how he called her cute. A few days go by and Akatsu is all depressed. Uyama wonders if he should ask her if everything is alright, but she starts talking by herself. She tells him that all the girls are preparing for summer holidays and are planning to go to the sea again this year. She starts to feel down because she has gotten fat from lying in Uyama's bed all the time. She decides that she won't wear a swimsuit this time and he tries to console her by saying that she isn't fat. She gets up and shows him how fat her stomach is. She shows him a picture of her from last year and tells him that she has gained so much weight since then. Uyama loses his focus and wishes that he could place that picture on his wall. He continues to look at the photo and starts getting lewd thoughts. She takes away the phone from him and states that they will be going on a diet from now. Uyama is confused why he has to go on a diet with her too. She explains that she might punch him if she sees him eating snacks while she is on a diet. He is against this idea, so she tells him that they can go together to pick her swimsuit if he goes on a diet with her. He falls for the trap and agrees to do it. Meanwhile, Akatsu is confused why she told him that. A few days later, Akatsu finds a cat in Uyama's room and he explains that the landlady asked him to take care of it for a day. Akatsu is very happy because she gets to play with a cat and asks about the cat's name. He tells her that it is written on her collar. Akatsu is surprised to know that the cat is called Riko, which is the same as Akatsu's first name. She teases Uyama by telling him to call the cat by its name. She laughs at him for being so embarrassed to call a cat's name just because it is the same as her name. He gives in to her taunts and calls the cat Riko. Akatsu teases him by asking if he was calling for her or the cat. Uyama realizes that this is a chance to say Akatsu's first name as much as he wants, so he uses every possible chance to call the cat Riko. He gets too deep into the play and starts complimenting the cat using her name. Akatsu laughs at him at first but gradually starts getting embarrassed too. She becomes speechless after hearing so many compliments on her name and starts blushing like crazy. The AC breaks down one day and Akatsu can't bear the heat. She fans herself using a paper and Uyama realizes that she smells amazing. He goes crazy while thinking about how feminine and erotic she smells, and she notices him covering his face with his hand. She thinks that her sweat smells and he tries to tell her that it's not true. This pisses her off even more, so she grabs him and makes him smell her armpits as punishment. The fragrant smell causes him to lose his mind. He tells her that he is losing consciousness, but she tears up after thinking that he is mocking her. He faints soon after and starts complimenting her smell while being knocked out. She gets shocked and tries to push him away, but he grabs onto her and continues sniffing her. She continues resisting, and luckily soon after that he gets completely knocked out. Another time, Akatsu asks Uyama to open up a packet of chips for her. She tries to flatter him by saying he looks really strong lately. He gets tricked and taking the packet from her opens up the chips packet. She thinks to herself that boys are really simple and that a little praise can make them feel so proud. She tells him that she has to go to the toilet and that he should carry her there. She then comments that carrying her should be easy with his strength and he may look cool doing it too. The flattery works and Uyama immediately picks her up. She laughs at how easy the trick is. She thinks that it's impressive that Uyama can carry her, and just then Uyama's arms start to shake. She teasingly asks him whether he is tired already and he proudly lies that he is fine. She tells him that she really needs to use the toilet, so he should drop her down, but he continues to carry her standing at the same spot. 5 minutes pass and he is still unable to carry Akatsu to the toilet, and by this time she is desperate to go use the toilet. She screams at him to let her down and barely manages to run to the toilet in time. She swears not to mess with Uyama again. In school, Akatsu's friends called Yako and Misaki ask her why she has stopped hanging out with them lately since she used to be with them all the time. Uyama listens in on their conversation and hopes that Akatsu doesn't spill the details about his house. Akatsu's friend tells her that she saw Akatsu enter somebody's house and asks her whether it was a boy's house. Uyama starts to worry that she may tell her friends about him. Her friends keep pressurizing her that she should introduce the boy to them, but Akatsu turns cold and tells them she won't do such a thing. They start to argue back and forth. Akatsu tells them that the boy's room is stinky and disgusting, and her friends tell her that it's a weird way to talk about her boyfriend. Akatsu defends herself that the boy is not her boyfriend. Her friends don't believe her, and one of them comments that she even observed that Akatsu was beaming before she entered the boy's house. Her friend remarks that Akatsu probably doesn't want them to visit because she doesn't want them to disturb her flirting time. Akatsu gets embarrassed and says that he is not her boyfriend, but it's not like she dislikes him either. She then declares that she is not going to let them come along with her. Meanwhile, Uyama embarrassingly lays his head on his desk hearing all the talk and wonders whether Akatsu even remembers he is sitting right there. Once again in Uyama's room, Akatsu shouts that she is very bored. He tells her to go home if she is so bored. She slaps him in the chest, hitting his nipple, and as a result he slightly makes a noise. She tells him coldly that his moaning is gross. He defends himself that he only made the noise because he was surprised, and she teases him that he must have a sensitive chest if he is making such noises. He tried defending himself again, but she doesn't listen to him. She teases him that even her own chest could bear more than his. She tells him she would love to hear his voice one more time and runs after him to hit his chest again. She chases him, and when she comes near him she comments that since it won't be a surprise for him now, he must not make any noise. He thinks to himself that he would definitely moan if Akatsu touches him, and to stop her from coming near to him he extends his hands forward. He ends up touching her chest and rubbing it, making Akatsu scream slightly. They both get embarrassed by her reaction, and she defends herself that she was just surprised. She then embarrassingly tries to tease him. He apologizes to her for his behavior and tells her it was her fault anyway. Akatsu stays over at Uyama's house, and when she wakes up she has a cold. She wears a mask and tells Uyama to shut up when he comments that it's a good thing they have an off day from school. She comments that she is really sweaty and starts to take off her shirt. She asks him to wipe the sweat off her back and collapses on the bed from exhaustion. Uyama immediately wipes her back and soon she falls asleep. He turns around to leave to buy her cold compressors but gets stopped by Akatsu. She holds his shirt and asks him where he is going. He answers her and she tells him not to leave her or else she will feel lonely. He finds her behavior really cute. He tells her that she needs to rest and that he will come back soon. She hugs him suddenly and confesses that she will die from loneliness if he goes away. She tells him to sleep with her instead. He decides he wants to take care of her and instantly agrees to her demands. He lays down with her and even listens to her when she tells him to stroke her head. Later, Akatsu wakes up with her cold gone and gets embarrassed by Uyama lying near her. She wonders whether she should wake him up, but Uyama continues to sleep for another 6 hours. Uyama goes out to get juice for Akatsu, but soon she gets worried about him because he didn't take his phone or wallet with him. She assumes that he will return for the wallet soon, but 40 minutes pass by. Her worries increase and she starts getting weird thoughts. She gets scared that she might have been too harsh to him today and he might have run away. She runs off to look for him and goes to the vending machine where he was supposed to get juice from. He appears out of nowhere and tells her that he had brought the money with him. He explains that the nearest vending machine was broken, so he had to go further. She grabs his hand and starts crying. She gets emotional and thanks God that he didn't run away. He tries to ask her what happened, but she continuously says that she is not crying. He gets flustered and says that they should go back inside. They walk back all the way while blushing and holding hands. Akatsu wonders why she has been getting so nervous in this room lately. She realizes that Uyama is having a serious impact on her. She rolls around while thinking about how she is starting to like him and tries to deny it. He calls her name and tells her that her skirt is rolled up. She thinks about how Uyama isn't totally calm around her either. She teases him by saying that he could have continued staring at his favorite plot if he hadn't told her. She is about to lift her skirt up, so he turns away. He turns back after realizing that she is not doing it. She is feeling embarrassed to do it unlike how she normally does it and tries very hard to overcome her embarrassment. She starts shaking, so he stops her and asks if she is feeling cold again. He gets close to check it himself and she realizes at that moment that she loves him. The word love accidentally comes out of her mouth. They both get shocked at what she just said. She tries to play it off by saying that she meant that he loved plot. She teases him for thinking that she said that he loved him. She calls him gross for thinking like that and says that who would love him. She gets embarrassed again and says that she going to sleep. They are both still blushing and Uyama thinks that it's impossible for her to love him. The next day, she is standing outside the door and is too ashamed to enter. She regrets accidentally saying her thoughts aloud and gets even more embarrassed after recalling it. She fools herself into thinking that she does not love him and only comes here to read manga and play games. She gathers up courage and is about to open the door. Uyama comes out just then and asks why she has been standing outside for so long. She gets nervous again after looking at him and does not answer him. She moves to the side and goes inside with her head down. She closes the door behind her and locks him outside. She feels nervous after making eye contact with him and stays nervous the whole time she is there. Some time goes by and she is still nervous. She thinks about how she got nervous after making eye contact with him. She decides that she will look at him straight in the eyes without budging next time. Uyama looks at her and she turns away again out of embarrassment. She curses her feeling for making her so nervous around him. He comes up to her, asks if everything is alright. She tries her hardest not to look away this time and acts tough. She realizes that the same Uyama that couldn't maintain eye contact with her before is now staring right back without getting nervous. She tells him to stop staring at her and he replies that she was the one who advised him to maintain eye contact while talking with people. He says that she looked like she had something to say. She shows him her chest to make him turn away because she could no longer look at him and didn't want to turn away first. Uyama couldn't handle it and turned away just she like predicted. She believes that she has won this time. She comes over the next time and sees Uyama handing over money to a scary-looking girl. She asks him if he is being extorted and the girl explains that she is the landlady's daughter. She asks Akatsu if she's Uyama's girlfriend. She reveals that they got noise complaints from the neighbor that they couldn't sleep due to Uyama and Akatsu's nighttime activity. Akatsu starts stuttering after hearing this and Uyama denies these accusations. The landlady's daughter thinks about how boring all this is and assumes that they are just a high school couple full of lust that will break up soon. She tells them that they will have to move out if she keeps receiving complaints about them. Akatsu bursts out and explains that they are not dating and that the noises must be coming from some other room. The girl says that they don't feel like friends and stay together all night. Akatsu gets flustered and explains that they only play game and read manga. She says that she doesn't like him and that they would never do something like that. The girl says that she will ask the other rooms about it and asks Uyama if he is bothered by Akatsu coming over every day. He says that he enjoys her company and is not bothered by it. The girl sees that Akatsu is very nervous and blushing. The girl decides to leave but says that she will visit them occasionally to check up on them. She finds Akatsu cute and gets obsessed with how she loves Uyama but can't be honest about it. She tells her mother, the landlady, that she doesn't mind helping her out like this again. A few days later, Akatsu complains about dying in the game and Uyama asks her to keep it down. He tells that the landlady's daughter, Uya, will get mad at them again if they make noise. He reveals that he met her again after she visited them and calls her a lovely person. Akatsu tenses up after hearing this and asks what they talked about. He reveals that she asked about when Akatsu usually comes over. Akatsu gets jealous and assumes that Uya might be aiming for Uyama and wants to spend time with him when she is not here. She gets annoyed after thinking that Uyama might be into such women. She asks him to help her clear this round in game, but he tells her that it's getting late. He says that he will walk her home, but she remembers that Uya might be nearby waiting for her to leave. She comes close to Uyama and says that she doesn't want to leave. They both get nervous after this and try to calm themselves down. She gets nervous while thinking about how close they are sitting and that their arms are sticking together. She feels Uyama trembling and looks at him. She realizes that she hasn't seen him this nervous in a long time and this makes her happy. She thinks that she can get back at him for making her so nervous and decides to tease him like the old days. He tries to get up but she pulls him down again and asks him to help her clear this round. She gets on his back and continues to tease him while talking about the game. He tells her stop and asks if she is doing it intentionally. She teases him by saying that he got excited just because her boobs touched her back. She tries to hide that she is also nervous and all this is making her more excited than him. He tries to move away but she blurts out that she doesn't want him to move. She gets embarrassed after realizing that she let her thoughts out and regrets falling for him because she can't tease him without getting excited herself. Uyama misunderstands her words and thinks that she is really desperate to clear this round. He gets even closer than before but is only focused on the game this time. However, Akatsu can't handle the stimulation. He advises her on how to clear the round while they are in a weird position. The stimulation is already too much for her, but she loses it when he comes close and whispers in her ear. Uyama is all excited that they cleared the round but sees a knocked out Akatsu. Meanwhile, Uya was passing by and overhears the whole conversation. She misunderstands the whole situation and is confused how those two are doing such things without dating each other. One time, Uyama is all relaxed after taking a shower because Akatsu went for karaoke. He comes out of the bathroom all naked, but unexpectedly she came back because the karaoke plan got cancelled. He quickly covers his lower area and freaks out. She asks her to bring him the towel because he can't move, but she gets curious about how he looks down below. She blocks the bathroom door and takes out her phone. She tells him that she is getting material to blackmail him later on and tries to remove his hands. He gets angry and tells her to cut it out, but he accidentally slips. He places his hands on her shoulder and his lower bottom is uncovered. She clicks a picture of it first and is shocked to see it so close to her face. She gets so embarrassed that she faints on the spot. Uya enters the room just then and sees him picking her up. She misunderstands the situation due to the angle where she saw things from. She exits silently and is amazed at how fast they are progressing. Uya comes back a while later and Uyama is all clothed up now. He explains to her what happened and she tells him that they don't need to call the ambulance. She tells him that he needs to perform mouth-to-mouth to wake her up. She just wants to see them kissing with her own eyes. She notices that Akatsu has already woken up and thinks that she couldn't get up even if she wanted to due to what's about to happen. She sees Akatsu getting into position so he can perform mouth-to-mouth and even wiping her lips. She finds Akatsu very cute for being so excited about it. Uyama bends down and says that he will do it as long as it helps Akatsu. Uya exits the room so he can do it and he gets closer to Akatsu. Just as he is about to do it, Akatsu jumps up. She calls him a pervert for trying to kiss her and he tries to explain himself. She continues to tease him and thinks about she wants it to be a proper kiss instead. He asks her to delete the photo she took of his thing so she opens it but faints again. Some other time, Akatsu gets up to leave early. Uyama offers to walk her home but she refuses. She stands outside the door and plans to scare him because she wants to get back at him for all the previous things. She overhears him talking about her and he calls her cute, which causes her to skip a beat. He compliments her and talks about how he loves spending time with her. She overhears all this and her heart is racing. He talks about how he feels lonely because she left early today and this makes her very happy. He gets up and decides that he should walk her home because a man tried to grope her previously, and he is worried about her. He opens the door and gets scared after seeing a bent down Akatsu in front of it. He asks why she hasn't left yet and she says that she was about to. She does not look at him because her heart is still beating like crazy. She complains about having to buy a notebook one time. Uyama is surprised that her previous one ran out, but she tells him that she has never bought a single notebook since high school started. She is only buying one this time because the teacher flipped out on her for not having a single notebook. He questions her about why comes to school if she doesn't even have a single notebook. She answers that she only goes there to sleep and he wonders how she can sleep so much. He gives her his spare notebook and she is surprised because this is the first time Uyama gave her something himself without her threatening him to get it. She starts getting shy because this was the first time she received something from a boy. She calms herself down but fails to control her happiness. She flips through the notebook while watching it very intensely. Uyama leaves to use the bathroom and she notices his name written on the notebook. She fails to control herself and writes her name with it and makes a heart around it. She is shocked at her own actions but still gets happy after seeing it. A few days later, Uya arrives to hand them Riko the cat to take care of for the day. She asks him about what Akatsu is doing and he explains that she is just too excited to play with the cat. He explains to Uya that she likes cats a lot and was all over their cat the last time too. Uya questions him if he knows the name of the cat and tells her how Akatsu's first name is the same as the cat's name, that is why it is awkward for him to call it Riko. Akatsu starts blushing after hearing him say her name and Uya notices it. Uya tells Uyama to say the name again because she could not hear it properly. She makes him say it 2 more times, which causes Akatsu to lose her mind. Uya is happy that she named her cat Riko. She notices how Akatsu is already about to fall just because he said her name a few times. She finds her super cute and decides that she needs to give them a push. She tells him to call Akatsu but he accidentally calls her Riko. This makes them both blush and Uya is enjoying the scene. She hands over the cat to Akatsu while her heart is still racing from Uyama calling her by her first name. The weather is getting hotter as summer is coming near and Akatsu is annoyed of the heat. She ties her hair up because it keeps sticking to her face. Uyama freaks out after seeing her in a ponytail because he had always seen her with her hair down. He finds her very cute and can't take his eyes off of her. She asks him what he is staring at and he replies that she looks a little different. She waits for him to compliment her and is restless. She gets angry when he does not say anything for a few seconds. She takes her pony off and he realizes that she is angry. He tells her that it suits her, which makes her happy. She makes a ponytail again and tries to act like she does not care about it a lot. He finds her attitude very cute and realizes that she wants to be complimented, so he continues to compliment her. He tells her that he likes how the back of her neck is visible when she makes a ponytail. He calls it hot but she gets shy and starts blushing. She tells him not to stare at it so much and he thinks that she felt uncomfortable. He gets scared and hopes that this does not count as rizzing. He apologizes for it but she not paying attention to what he is saying and is still stuck on the fact that he called it hot. Will they continue to fool themselves or will their love finally blossom? Comment your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content.